Our final presentator for today will be Terrence Wu. Terrence is an 18-year-old and going into his third year studying at Western University, pursuing a double instrument major performance degree in piano and violin. He is highly engaged and dedicated to his music and academic careers. He often performs live and has won multiple competitions. Most recently, he placed first in the OMFA provincial finals for Advanced Piano Concerto and third for Licentiate Piano Solo. Outside of Terrence's active music lifestyle, he also enjoys volleyball, video games, and traveling. So here is Terrence on understanding the art of piano tone quality.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Colton. So today I'll be just giving a short presentation on how to play the piano and some of the techniques and the things that I try to keep in my mind when I perform or when I'm on stage, or the things that I need to always remember to be able to play at the best. So today we'll be talking about our modern piano. So this is the modern grand piano, and this is the one that is widely used in performance halls, in modern competitions and performances. We use the modern piano. There are two early predecessors. There is the dulcimer, and there is the harpsichord and clavichord, which were created in the Renaissance era. We will talk about tone and how the sound is produced from the piano and how that sound is created, what happens, and how the strings inside the piano work, and the mechanisms and the anatomy of the small tones. The attack speed, how our fingers play the piano. It's very important. What's the most efficient and effective way, easy, without energy way to play the piano? And how do we prevent injury? How do we prevent arthritis and keep relaxed and try to stay away from developing injuries in the future? And posture becomes big. We can't do any of the things. We can't produce good tone and attack if we're not sitting correctly at the piano. So those are the things I will be going about. So first of all, we'll start talking about our modern piano. So the dulcimer, the strings that you see on the dulcimer here were most likely made out of catgut, but now are usually made out of metal. They are metal coiled into really thick for the low pitches, and they're more thin for the high pitches. So if we think about elastics, when we pull elastics apart, like really stretch them apart, they make a pitch. And when we pull them more apart, they make a higher pitch. So these are the things that we've done. And then we made a thick elastic that'll make lower notes. And it's the same idea. And somebody in the medieval era around 900 AD decided to put these in modern cases, elastics, but catgut, stretch them apart, found that there was a sound that came from them. They put them on a wooden board, and the dulcimer was there created. The instrument is a long wooden box with strings that were either plucked or struck with handheld hammers, as you see in this picture here. And the concept evolved into keys that could be pushed down, would raise the object, either a hammer or a metal stick, to strike the string instead of plucking them by yourself. To play the dulcimer either by plucking the strings with your fingernails or striking the strings with some kind of mallet of some sort that would be able to hit the catgut strings and resonate the pitch. It was easier to faster, and by pressing the keys, connecting a lever, you would be able to play faster. That would raise a metal tangent that would pluck the string. And this is the fundamentals of the harpsichord. They wanted to play more notes consecutively faster. So you would have another object that would help you do this, so you just have to press a simple key that would do this for you. So they put this into a bigger wooden box, specifically because the wood would bounce around the sound and it would help resonation, and it would project further and you would be able to hear it from a further distance. The harpsichord and the clavichord are ideally the same thing, developed in the Middle Ages. The clavichord is produced by striking iron or brass strings with small metal blades, which we call tangents. They're these small little needles that would come up and hit the string that are inside the piano. And the harpsichord is a similar thing. Instead of a wooden stick holding the tangent, they use jacks. So the core of the harpsichord mechanism is compromised with little wooden jacks that would vertically come up and down that would pluck the string. The only disadvantage to the harpsichord and the clavichord is the lack of dynamic control, because no matter how fast you would press down the key, it would resonate at the same sound no matter what. It wouldn't be louder, it wouldn't be softer, it would be at a consistent sound at all times. If the key is depressed with too much force, the jack will pop out of the frame and you will have to stop and replace the jack because there will nothing be pressing this string. This is a model of the modern piano. The modern piano, if you see here, there is the key surface that comes from here. This is these black keys that you see here, 88 keys. And it is a key lever. The key lever that you see here is kind of a seesaw kind of motion. And when here, if you see my little laser, here it lifts up the seesaw, the other side of the seesaw will lift up, and we'll take a look at what's going on here first. So the capstan will lift up and comes this way, which lifts up the carbon jack, which turns backwards. It will go back and forth, kind of like that. And the knuckle, when it comes backwards, it will lift the hammer shank up, and it will hit the string that you see up here. So the carbon jack comes back, hits the hammer upwards, and that's how this sound is produced. That's the carbon jack pressing back, and the felt hammer, if you see here, this is usually covered in felt, and it will strike the string. Now, what's different about the modern piano is that the jack, it depends how fast you play the note. So the jack will go either slower or faster because there is so much mechanisms around here. It will take more time, not more time necessarily, but it will have more resistance than just rather flying up. And if you go slower, the mechanism will move slower. If you go faster, the mechanism with the force of the key will move faster, and the hammer shank will hit the key and the string faster. And another part that the key also has, it will hit the damper lever. The damper lever is what holds the string on top. And on top of the piano, you see these little damper things. They're all right here. And they will lift up temporarily when you hit the string, so you hear that ringing sound. If we want to keep the dampers up, we have 3 pedals at the bottom, which will keep them up, and we can play multiple notes, and it will keep all the dampers up above the strings and let them all ring together. And when the damper pedal is let go, all the dampers will fall down and immediately stop the ringing sound. So some more information about these medieval era pianos. The modern piano was, of course, derived from the hammered dulcimer, which became an inspiration for the subsequent development of the clavichord, harpsichord, and our modern pianoforte. It was likely created in the Middle East, and the term derives from Latin and Greek words called dulce et melos, which was combined together to mean sweet tune. The harpsichord and the clavichord evolved based on the idea during the Middle Ages. The clavichord produced sound by striking iron brass strings with small metal blades called tangents. The core, another disadvantage to the harpsichord that it would go out of tune really quite easily, because if you think about these metal tangents that keep hitting the strings and pulling them each time, it would loosen the strings and the pitch wouldn't be exactly how it was supposed to be intended. And the inventor of the modern piano, Bartolomeo Cristofori, invented this grand piano in around the 1700s. He was very smart. He named this piano what the early predecessors couldn't do. It's called pianoforte, which is the original name, which we just call piano now. Piano and forte means soft and loud. Piano is soft, loud is forte. So we call it pianoforte because the early pianos couldn't do loud or soft. And he used felt, which he thought would be a better idea than these little metal things to pluck the strings, which would it would still go out of tune after some time, but it it's a much better mechanism. So when we think about sound quality, there's multiple ways where this could go wrong. You could either bang, which would be just the felt hammer hitting the strings so hard that it would produce an unpleasant noise and it would sound very tingy and it's not warm. When we play the piano, it depends on what kind of style you're looking for, but you want to have more of a warm sound. You don't want the banging or slapping the keys, which just produce it's a little bit painful to listen to if you get what I mean. So how we do this? Creating good piano sounds depends on the way our hands and arms are create fluid motions to play the piano in a relaxed manner with the greatest degree of control. In particular, effective gestures are responsible for the control of the sound quality produced by the instrument. Performers should be able to elicit the ideal tone qualities and then apply the correct techniques to deliver sound. The resulting string vibration bounces off the wooden soundboard and transforms the vibration into audible sound waves, in turn creating the pitches that listeners hear. Once a performer presses down and holds a piano key, the sound will immediately begin to decay because the vibrations of the piano strings are slowing down. On top of the strings for each strings, there are the dampers that we looked at, and they will fall once the finger is lifted on the key and stop the sound. It is possible to sustain the sound by using the damper pedal or the sostenuto pedal. The damper pedal will keep the damper pads from stopping the vibration, and the player will not need to keep their finger pressed down on the key. The sostenuto pedal will hold a singular damper pedal and will only hold a singular key, while you can play others without any pedal. A common misconception is that many people believe that a piano key produces the same sound no matter how you play it. However, one of the most crucial techniques is absorption in the wrist. There are multiple factors to striking the key that will change the sound. So by absorption, I'm thinking about when you press down the key, you want to absorb that tension. You don't want that tension to go to the sound, which will hit the key too hard. When we think about playing fast, if we are unrelaxed or we have very tense arms, we can't move, you want to be fluid. So the tap speed of the finger determines how quickly the finger vertically strikes the key. The tap only uses the weight of the finger, but is essential for faster tempos. If the performer attempts to play a quick passage with maximum volume, for example loud, for long periods of time, the body cannot withhold this high amount of energy required to execute proper technique. So if you're forcing all the time and you try to force for like 20, 30 minutes with a standard piano piece, it doesn't work. You will get very tired and you may injure your wrist or arm in a bad way. Bad piano technique can mostly will lead to hand and wrist pain, poor blood circulation, or soreness in the head or neck. If you're really tense and you're looking down, it's just bad for your AO joints here. The modern piano, unlike its earlier predecessors, is the most sensitive to the speed of attack. Because of the jacks that come back, it will really depend on how fast that jack moves or how slowly it moves, and that comes from your finger. The harpsichord would not be affected by how fast or slow the key is depressed, as the plucking mechanism would not influence the speed at which the jack would pluck the string. This is because keys respond to how fast they are being pressed down and how fast the hammer strikes the string. This then determines the tone quality of the sound produced and how soft or loud the sound is. Playing the piano with good tone quality, musical expression, and the ability to play at faster speed with accuracy is the main goal for professional pianists. Good tone quality and performance helps to achieve a singing-like quality, or in the words of Mozart, make music flow like oil. These fundamentals are achieved with how much the finger is raised before pressing the key. If the desired tone is powerful and loud, the finger would have to strike the key at a higher angle. And on the contrary, if a performer wants to play a virtuoso passage, the fingers would have to stay closer to the key. An analogy we could use to describe this mechanism in the fingers is like walking. Walking, if you want to walk faster or run, you would be closer to the ground. You wouldn't lift your feet really high like you're doing a great march. Or if you want to walk slowly with more presence, you would lift your feet higher, take small steps, and wouldn't worry about lifting your feet too high up off the ground. Lifting our fingers or our legs higher in this sense takes more energy. It's inefficient in some ways, but some ways it is. We want to lift our feet higher when we want to make a noise with our leg. And same thing in our hand. If we want to have more sound, we would lift our finger higher. Striking the key with speed of attack, we will hear a note. However, when the hammer hits the string so quickly with no control, the sound will be harsh. To maintain warm sound quality, the pianist needs to incorporate flexibility in the finger joints, knuckles, the wrist, and the arm. Generally speaking, there are two main categories of sound, one being very bright and the other being warm. For example, if we want to play a lullaby or a soft, quiet song, Twinkle Twinkle Little Star, if you will, the performer would usually strive for supple sounding tones. Unlike if you're doing a mazurka, like a grand polonaise, something where you want to catch the listener's attention, it would require bold and powerful sound. When the flexibility of the wrist and arm are used in combination with the speed of attack to produce a sound, the sound is much more expansive and with considerably better sound quality. If we go back to our walking analogy, when we walk, we bend our ankles, our knees, and our hips. We do not maintain flexibility. Our range of mobility is limited. When we walk, we shift our weight from one leg to the other. The faster we want to run, the more flexible our joints need to be. We have to be centered, and that's where posture will come in. Bone alignment in the hands, arms, and body is crucial for sound and powerful sound. If you think that your arm is crooked, there's no energy flowing. You're cutting it off in your wrist, and it's not flowing. You won't be able to play like this. Another analogy I can think of. If we want to make a really strong fist, we put our fist like this, and our arm is straight. But if we do so in the same way, where we bend our wrist downwards, this is not connected, and we try to make the same strong fist. It doesn't really work. It works if you go like this. It doesn't work if you go like this when your arm is crooked, when these are not aligned. Posture, excuse me, begins with the height of the bench and is adjusted so that the forearms are lined up with the key beds and that is slightly below the surface of the keys themselves. We want our arms and our elbows to maintain as straight as possible. And the performer is advised to usually sit on the edge of the chair to assist with proper balance of weight and easy accessibility to shift the body weight towards the keyboards when needed. Proper posture in combination with alignment of the wrist and finger bones is the foundation of any good piano. The power must come from the lower back and sit bones connected to the shoulder muscles into the arms, wrist, and finger. The best posture focuses on the least amount of energy when not needed. When the performer's joints and muscles are strained, the flow of weight and power cannot be provided, efficient gestures and movements. Playing the piano, for the most part, it should be effortless, considering the anatomy of the hands and the minimal amount of energy required that should be needed to spend, using natural body and arm weight. In short, speed of attack, flexibility in the hand and arm, alignment of the bones here, and weight distributions are the basic fundamentals of proper piano technique. I hope you have enjoyed the short presentation about the core of piano performance, and please feel free to ask any questions in the chat below. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Terence. That was fantastic. I'm just going to scroll through here. There was a question for Terence about long-term piano players. Do they often suffer from common injuries, hand, wrist, nerve, neck issues? What do you see in these long-term piano players?
The most general one is carpal tunnel syndrome, which is a repetitive strain injury that happens in the hand where it is a suppressed nerve in the wrist with bad bone alignment. If your wrist is constantly and you keep moving your fingers like this, you will suppress a nerve, which you'll have to get surgery and done, and it really hurts. So good technique, guys.
For sure, for sure. As a bit of shameless self-promotion, I've been asked to ask you if you will play a small excerpt for us to conclude our panel today.
Yeah, sure. Is if there's not anything else, I'd love to.